Let's talk about tragedy for just a moment. Again, not bringing a lot of answers to the table. That's not happening. But in the midst of the Connecticut shooting, I have been thinking of some of the tragedies that have come into my own life. I'm going to talk about one in particular. I don't know if this is going to be helpful to you at all, but I hope it will be to some extent. I'm remembering a time when one of my very best friends died. His name was Darren. My eldest son is named after him. He was the best man in my wedding. I was in college with him, was in seminary with him, and I miss Darren even to this day. Well, I got the call that he was in the hospital in Mid-Cities. Of course, I live in the DFW area. He had had a seizure. He'd fallen into some towels that he was folding, and in the midst of that, and having a seizure face first in the towels, he had basically suffocated. Higher brain function was gone, and well, he was in the hospital and just barely on life support. They were in the process of deciding how long to leave him on life support, see if he came back any or not. And by the end of, I believe, Saturday night, the family decided that enough was enough. And then Darren went on to meet his maker. Well, I remember showing up. And going into the ICU room. And his mom was right there, sitting down. She saw me. She got up. She gave me a great big hug. Said something very comforting. I don't know what it was. And I know I just bawled. My very best friend was there in the bed, intubated, comatose, it was bad. And then this other young man who was sitting beside her, never seen this guy before in my life. Turns out he was a member of the church that she went to. And I'm sure that this guy had really good intentions for saying what he said. But this is what happened. I was crying on Mary Sue's shoulder. And this guy came up, total stranger to me, wrapped his arms around both of us and started this little diatribe. I'm paraphrasing. We know that Darren's just in the center of God's hand, and this is the will of God, and God's in control, and we just know He's up there in heaven right now. Okay, he probably didn't sound that much like a hick, but I was not impressed. I was almost violently so not impressed. And I remember looking at Mary Sue and looking at him, like, And I said something to the effect of, I don't remember word for word, man, I know what you're doing. I even think I might know why you're doing it. And please understand where I come from. I have an undergrad degree in Bible. I have a master's in theology. I have training in hospital situations. I am currently the pastor of a church. And I need you to really understand this. If you don't get away from me right now, I'm going to hit you so hard. You get the picture of what I said. I don't remember. I just remember saying, I'm going to hit you so hard. And he was gone. He left the room. Because what he was saying, while some people could make an argument that it was true, God was in control, it was God's will, Darren's up in heaven, that's just the body laying there, all that kind of stuff. People can make that kind of argument. Okay. I'm not arguing with the argument, with the theology behind that right now. I believe it was wholly inappropriate for him to be saying that at that time. What was needed was presence. We call it incarnational theology. Was God to be there, was for God to show up in the presence of the person. And that's what Darren's mom was for me. That's what Darren's mom was for me. That's what he wasn't. And now, fast forward through the evening, somehow my cell phone number got out, and everybody from college that knew Darren was calling me, and eventually I just wanted to shut the cell phone off. And at the end, with all sorts of friends and family around the bedside, this place was packed out. I'm surprised they let that many of us into that ICU room. His mom asked if I would pray. I don't remember everything I said in that prayer. I remember I didn't want to pray. I remember starting out, and please forgive me if this offends you, but I was very serious. I said, "Dear Lord, I just want you to know that we're mad as hell right now." And to be honest, I meant that. I know I went on to say something about not even trying to ask the question why. We're just hurting. I even finished on a positive note, and now, even in the midst of the pain, we still trust and have faith. But to be honest, if I wasn't wearing my pastor hat that night, I just would have wanted to sit in a corner and just hurt and feel the loss of my friend. I still hurt. 5 years later. No. 10 years later. Almost 10 years. 5 years ago, my dad died. Almost 10 years ago. It was in my first year of being a pastor. I lost one of my very best friends. And I still miss him. And all the right theology in the world doesn't change that. I still hurt. When I was at MD Anderson doing some hospital training, chaplaincy training, they talked about you never get over the loss of a loved one. Instead, you find a new normal. It's the normal where you can function even in the midst of the loss. Well, in the loss of my friend, I am in a new normal. I still miss him. I still cry. I still hurt. And if you're out there feeling pain, if you've lost someone very close to you, I want you to know that it's okay to hurt. They're worth it. Your pain is just a reflection of the love that you had for them. And that sooner or later, and right now you might not want to hear it, but sooner or later, there will be a new normal. You're not going to forget them, but there will be a new normal. This is Tim from Tyke's Best Friend. Have a good night, everybody.